Thank you, Safar, and thank you so much for extended invitation to the Digital Earth Summit. It's the first time really that we participate here, and we are honored. So also extended good afternoon, good morning, and good evening for all of you, wherever you are in the world, as we say today. So you, Safar, asked me the question on how your industry responds to the adaptation of SDGs. Within this title, I wanted to add how the Earth observation should leverage with and for users, because we do believe that to facilitate this understanding of how the information could support these communities more effectively to achievement the SDGs. So the association that I represent, EARSC, a European Association of Remote Sensing Companies, as you said, is covering the full value chains of companies, those ones with the acquisition of the data, through the processing of the data, through the fusion of the data, or the analysis of the data. So it's the full package companies delivering services for the downstream users. So the sector, we know that it's evolving so fast, so we think that it's very important to look into the trajectory we are going today, where we want to be, and which is the path to go along. So in that time, in that moment, also we need to understand the key drivers, the trends, and specifically the actors involved. So with that, with all these elements, we tackle the challenges in front of us as the community, the sector, your sector community, your spatial community, but also trying to bring opportunities for other sectors. And that will be, in this case, the Sustainable Development Agenda. So the next slide is just to bring you the storyline that is going through the 5 steps. One is the introduction of the who, is the stakeholders ecosystem. The what will respond to the actual situation, the status. The third point, the third point is responding to the why we are elaborating in the value chain and how is comparing that with this evolution. The fourth element will tackle about the how, and it will introduce some case stories about how we are embracing these and supporting these societal challenges and provides value to that, and which, in my end, will be kind of takeaways from the presentation. So this slide shows the who, is the first polling here. In the left side, you have the international approach on the SDGs. So we do have this illustration on the United Nations development agenda, development actors. The agenda represents definitely a major milestone between the development policies and that are data-driven and evidence-based. So you have the decision makers and how they will be connected with the users, and the Earth observations providers and how will be in the middle. So it's a little bit about partnerships, as expressed with my previous speaker, Adam, that will bring this element of connection between the networks, because the vision itself from the sustainable development is to covering the people, the planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships. And partnerships is the one that I would like to stress here. We also see that the value chain, the downstream sector, is helping to evaluate and implement a country public policies. And for example, in Europe, there are recommendations from the European Council stressing the importance of the downstream service to benefit the different digital transition or the digital green agenda. Because it's not only through that political commitment, but also increasing the competitiveness and efficiency and creating jobs associated to that. So this is showing a little bit the stakeholders ecosystem. The next slide shows the landscape. It shows how the industry, at least in Europe, stands today. In the left side, you have the graphic about the sector growth. You see the growth in the number of companies, the staff employment, the company revenues, that is showing the health industry sustainably over the last 10 years. In the right side, just wanted to show, because also in our industry surveys, we also understand that the government or public authorities are today a customer of the EU service providers. It's about 60%. So in this graphic, it's showing the challenges and how the Earth observation is fitting into these challenges. So for that, we need a common understanding, with a common dialogue. And this is where the Earth observation services are in the middle, because they are fulfilling the needs or the challenges of a particular sector, and in this case, the governmental or public authority side. So if leveraging CEO services with and for users, in this case, we think that we could, as an industry or providers itself, we could contribute to the global data sets, the best practices, methodologies, capacity building information, or toolboxes and knowledge sharing through the hubs and exploitation platforms. The next slide shows we are now in the evolution of the value chain. We see how all these technologies, technological advancements, and we are today in the scope of the digital earth and the digital twins, the edge computing, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all the life cycle of the technology is really becoming shorter. It's really impacting very hard and becoming shorter all how it's integrated into the EO services. So we have also components like the data resources, the data integration, the consolidation of the large volume of data, or their other components will be the user requirements, the structural shift, thinking into these new space activities with new business models, new incubators. So it's a disruptive change and somehow also in the value chain, and also the regulatory framework. So what is impacting with all these technological trend drivers is in the middle part. You see here the infrastructure as a platform, the exploitation tier, or the knowledge tiers. These ones are the ones that we are looking at they are bringing much more interest into this potential sustainable development agenda, because it will be a kind of transition between bringing now will be users to the data instead to data to the users that we used to be. So analysis-ready data will be another component that we need to elaborate and better understand how these technological trends will fit now into the user requirements. So the next slide shows a little bit a few examples of how we will do that. And in Europe, for instance, today under the eShape project, which is the arm of the EuroGeo under the European contribution to the Global Earth System Resistance, we are gathering about 37 pilots with different TRLs, technological exploitation levels, which are already advanced. They are all in level 7. But within the project, we need to upscale until level 9. The idea is really to promote this uptake of national and international scale. And all these services are delivering for focus key societal areas, as you see here: agriculture, health, water, ecosystem, but also the different pillars of the GEO, which one of those is the sustainable development. So all these pilots that I mentioned before are fitting somehow to all these pillars, on some of those very concretely to the sustainable development agenda. If we zoom a little bit on that, for instance, just thinking in one of the sustainable development goals, what the pilots are trying to understand is what I mentioned before, is to talk the same language of the needs of the particular user. So in this case, thinking that the user are the countries or the public authorities, in the SDGs, they will need to fit the EO contribution into the language of the targets and indicators. But they have many challenges, and the challenges will be, for example, in water, that some information of interest is difficult to delineate, thinking in the wetlands, for example, of the ground truthing. So these are elements that need to be contrasted and held on together with the communities. So the other example here is how we put the connection on the socioeconomic benefit studies. The idea here is that we look into one of the products and we try to identify the value chains of the different users that are benefiting from them. The ice maps, for instance, are used by the Royal Arctic Airlines in Greenland, but not only with the maritime transport. They are also icebreakers. There are other type of communities using that, like the fisheries or energy communities, which are saving time and fuel, operating more safely due to the use of the ice mapping. We have that on shore, but in the ground, we have the local authorities and the port authorities operating more efficiently due to the use of satellite technology. So we need to quantify this type of figures to better realize this information for the decision makers. So if we are able to quantify this information, we will be able to produce more reports or information to them to take decisions on economic, environmental, or societal benefits. So the final slide here is about how we do that, and I'm summarizing a little bit my previous steps. So we go for the who, the what, the why, the how, and the which. And in each of those, we did analyze a little bit one of the recommendations. So the first one is about the establish this forum of discussion to better understand these two communities, the different communities. So it will be a kind of guidance on products and purposes, but also understanding the requirements. The what, I showed before that the countries are customers, users of the data, and there is a country demand. So we need to elaborate more in this partnership approach between these anchor tenancy to simulate innovation to overcome country challenges or local challenges. In the wide on the value chains, the idea to bring together all these technology advancements where we are standing today, the uptake of new technologies through the assimilation in the sector, but for other sectors in the different business sector or verticals, this is really important. And that is already there. There are many platforms and many EO data available. So on the how is, for instance, thinking in the Sustainable Development Agenda, how we embed these services into different different agendas, political, as a Green Deal in Europe, or digital agenda, or maybe thinking in this global component of United Nations, thinking how country needs will be integrating that data into their own workflows. And this is very important, that we need to integrate in their workflows. So turning the data into statistics through the targets or the indicators. And the which will be a little bit reiterated by, I guess, many panels today, is about collaboration and community engagement to collaborate and coordinate. Just thank you very much, and just put it there. One discussion that we will have tomorrow on exactly on the same topic, how we leverage the Earth observation services to help countries to monitor on the SDGs, and there will be the industry perspective also discussed tomorrow. So thank you again for the opportunity and the attention. Thank you, Satar.